So for the last 2 tier lists I did, I got some very harsh feedback because I followed like a clear set of stuff that I was looking for to determine the ranking of my characters, and I was like, okay, at the end of the day, if art is a subjective format and the goalpost can kind of change depending on what the outcome is supposed to be or what feeling people are going for, then maybe something, say, originality doesn't mean because there's plenty of villains like Scar and the Joker, and a lot of them are really good and a lot of them are really bad. It has nothing to do with how original or interesting or unique the idea is, it's all about how well it was executed. So I will be taking into consideration more stuff like that. Charlie, she is an interesting character. The part that I like most about her is that she's like this all-powerful demigod who maybe has the power to 1v1 Adam, and she could technically use this to enforce her hotel and her beliefs and morals upon all of hell's denizens. But just like God, she really believes in free will, and she wants people to change because they want to change, not because she has the power to make them do good and make the world around them better. She's like, no, what is the point if these people are living here? This is their world, it is not mine. Who am I to force things upon people that I don't want? And then she gets a taste of that with Angel Dust when she does try a little bit too hard to force him into the situation she would like him to be, and then she kind of melts down over it and she feels really bad. So she does not use her powers for her own means, almost to a fault, because she's not really using her powers to help people either. So I find that to be a very interesting moral line that the character does not cross, and she believes so much in other people. One thing that prevents me from putting her in the love category is the show like pitches her as like having daddy issues and whatnot, but then the show introduces Lucifer and Charlie, and they get buddy-buddy, so we just don't see what this history is, and the show makes Lucifer look like I don't know, just a dad, not like particularly evil or anything. So I don't like get what they're picking up on. I get they're implying that like maybe her dad wasn't like around a lot, but isn't that just the normal experience of having a dad? Before this gets to any depressing stuff, we're gonna move on to the next character, Alastor. Great voice, interesting character. He still has like this mysterious bad guy villain stuff that enables a lot of speculation. The only part that I am concerned about him is that it's leaning so much into the mysterious aspect of Alastor that when the grand reveal, like his whole master plan is finally shown off before the audience, it's gonna be a letdown because of how much build-up there was around it. But also, you know, his great fashion, great musical numbers, I'm gonna put him in the top tier because he is an amazing character that I really like. Oh, I know, we have Angel Dust, so I really liked Angel Dust. So here we have a person who's literally a celebrity in hell, hanging out with the princess of Lucifer himself, working underneath one of the most powerful overlords in all of hell. There's a lot of power concentrated in this dude's life, and he is a victim of it. Charlie wants to change him and like push some ideas upon him that like he's ready to change and do things her way, but he's still a little bit hesitant because he knows Charlie doesn't really care that much about him. And we really see this when Sir Pentious enters the hotel and is actually trying to go along with Charlie's plan, and Charlie is very, very happy and showers tons of praise and like affection and admiration upon Sir Pentious for like doing so well. And then Angel Dust feels bad because he's just like, oh, I would like some of that love too, please. I would also like to feel loved on occasion. And so he doesn't get that. He doesn't know how to get it because his life is all a little bit nasty and he doesn't. And then it gets extra sad because it's like, oh yeah, Sir Pentious was just like snaking around. None of it was genuine. And there, Sir Pentious got to experience a fraction of the like love that Angel Dust wishes he could feel. So he just doesn't get that from anybody. And Charlie was one of the only people who could give it to him and make him feel good about himself. And he didn't get that. Poison is my favorite song. And the music video goes hard. I also really like his character design, and it's just very gender fluid as well. I'm gonna throw him up in the best tier because he and Alastor are my favorite characters. And then we go on the Husk. Husk is he's definitely a character. He's, fuck, I don't even know how to describe him. I don't find him to be inherently interesting because this dude was literally an overlord who was a gambling addict, and he lost his status because he was way too addicted to gambling, and then he's all woe is me, Alastor has me on a leash. It's like, didn't you kind of do that to yourself, and you're just kind of being addicted to everybody now? Like, I get that you're salty, but like, also, he just comes across as kind of like this butthurt loser who had all this power. I don't know. I can't be the only one who looks at the Husk and thinks this dude's a Reddit mod. I'm gonna put him in good though, because he is my favorite voice actor, Keith David. His song is good. His character design is good. I just like the voice actor's voice. I think he was well scripted. I just think what Vivzy did with his character overall was incredibly mid, and all that other nice stuff that I just said about him has to balance out with that, so I'm just gonna be happy with putting him in good tier. And then now we got Sir Pentious. So do you remember the Angel Dust and Husk, like, You're a Loser Baby song, and joking about, like, you hit rock bottom? But the thing is, Angel Dust is surrounded by and loved by overlords. He's a celebrity. It's implied that he might be very wealthy, but we don't know what the contract with Valentino is, because Valentino says, you make me money. He doesn't say, like, oh, I made you this, like, amazing figure, but there's still a lot of, like, social prestige that follows Angel around, which, you know, probably would guarantee some job security afterward, just the same way that Fizzaroli had when he was working for Oman? I don't remember the big green guy's name. Anyway, you can see the comparison, right? Rambled on that a little bit too long, but Sir Pentious, he actually did hit rock bottom. Like, he just wanted to be noticed by the bees and, like, other overlords, and he wanted to be treated like a somebody. And he didn't really get to be a somebody, but, like, he's super knowledgeable about, like, firearms and stuff, and he has, like, this steampunk totalitarian aura about him, and his personality is very eccentric and, like, literal, and he doesn't, like, understand jokes or social cues, and he's just very quirky and funny, and the line deliveries are so over the top, and because he has, like, a fleshy face, because the King Cobra hood, they're able to add so much expression into this character that it just goes above and beyond what, like, people can do with even, like, big eyes and a big mouth and, like, giant eyebrows across normal animated characters, because they have more stuff to work with. And for a quick reference of that is, if you're, like, animating a cat, then you have the tail and you have, like, the hair on the neck and a bunch of, like, extra details that you can use to, like, communicate different moods. And because Sir Pentious has a very, like, fluid body, being a snake, it's just disjointed, and they can kind of contort him and twist him however they want to better convey his emotions, and it just comes off really well. I really like the enemies turn to lovers, like, side story going on between Sir Pentious and Cherry Bomb. I don't know why I like the love enemies to lovers. You know, I do like Catchador. I think this makes a lot of sense. Anyways, I really like that a lot, and so the fact that they did it, but they also, like, oh yeah, Sir Pentious is not, like, not only is he not a sociable person, he also has, like, no idea how to, like, communicate his feelings to this rude woman. It's just the club episode. I love Sir Pentious's whole side bit going on, and then it builds up into a kiss in the finale, and it was amazing. So definitely top tier character in my opinion. Moving on to his eggs. To be honest, like, they're pretty funny when they're used, but I do forget that they're even in the show, so it's not, like, even a side character that I would care about. Alright, time for Vaggie. I'm gonna have a very controversial opinion around Vaggie, because up until her big I wanna be your armor, sad song, and trying so hard to not let down Charlie, but she's just like this negative Nancy that literally nobody likes and is up everyone's ass with this I am better than you attitude, eat shit loser. She's just such a fucking bitch, and I don't like her for that. And then she's like, oh, I'm an angel, woe is me, nobody will accept me. It's like, no, people don't accept you because you're a raging douchebag. Nobody gives a shit that you're an angel. Why would you even care about that? Why do you think anybody would care? It's just Oh my god. The sad part is, because the same voice actor voiced Gina in BoJack Horseman, so when I heard this voice, I immediately was like, oh, I really like this character, because I like their voice actor, and then I turned out to hate this character, because they're just mean and a little bit self-centered. Like, I know that sounds kind of funny saying that she's self-centered when she had like this whole song about like being Charlie's armor, but this wasn't through like the context of, oh, let me help Charlie in any and which way I can, because even when Vaggie was feeling down, Charlie tried to comfort her and be like, hey, everything's okay, and she's like, no, I feel bad and there's nothing you can do about it because I'm a disappointment, and she just refused to let Charlie help her. So it wasn't about finding a resolution to the issue. It was just, it was so frustrating to watch. Like, what is Vaggie's problem? And her problem is how she treats everybody else and doesn't have respect for people. I just find her to be like belongs in double hell. Like, unironically, I feel like she deserves to be in hell in the first place. Like, why was she even in heaven? Okay, moving on. Nifty is one of my favorite side characters. So we have this like slapstick gremlin, and a lot of the times that's mishandled because it's very cliche, it's very boring, it's very uninspired. But Nifty, given the setting of hell, is just unhinged enough to make all the same slapstick humor interesting. And she's not a particularly smart character, so it's like this 3-year-old toddler running around getting into messes, but is still somehow useful to all the main cast around her, and they have like a mutual respect for one another, and that's just like a different spin on a childlike character that I haven't seen before, and I find it to be really interesting. The slapstick humor is also further emphasized by the fact that they're in hell, and that takes a lot of the edge off, literally, of her jokes. So I think she's really great, and I'm going to put her into great because I would like more side characters to be like this, where they over-index into their little sub-archetypes so much so that they become memorable despite just being side characters. And now we move on over to Vox. So Vox is set up to be the villain of season 2, it appears. I'm going to be very disappointed if he's not. The entire time that we see him, it's literally just like him having a hate boner for Alastor, and we don't ever understand why. So it just seems kind of like every time the camera was on, Vox was kind of wasted. I understand that there was like setup and like, yeah, let's dive into the lore, and it's interesting, but the most interesting thing that Vox did was hire Sir Pentious to sneak into the hotel and try to find dirt on Charlie and stuff. Like, that was it. And then after that, it's like, okay, why are we looking at Vox now? I don't think we should look at Vox. I'm gonna put him under mid because he's just not interesting. He's just, I want to be Alastor, and I'm mad, and I'm gonna try to ruin him. It's like standard villain stuff. It didn't even excel at the standard villain stuff, so why would I care? Speaking of villains, Adam, I struggle to even call him the antagonist of hell, because to be honest, he's more like antagonist of heaven, because what he's doing with like the purge and stuff is pissing off the other angels and Sarah and shit up in heaven, who are like, yo, stop painting a target on our back. If hell invades us because of what you're doing, this is gonna be your fault. What are you doing, Adam? You fucking like psycho murderer. And yeah, that becomes like an issue, but like it's just a status quo of the exorcists come down the hell and wipe out a bunch of people, because that's just what they need to do in order to crush future descent. And things were going fine for a long time, so it feels weird to suddenly be like, oh, Adam is the main villain of the show. It's like, what they've been doing for like thousands of years, no? And suddenly now we're gonna be like, oh no, it's an even bigger issue than before. Like when Carmilla called the meeting with the other overlords, it's just like, yo, this recent purge, we lost way more souls than like previous other purges, so we kind of have to like figure out how do we want to divvy up power and like district control and stuff. And then Velvette busted in like, fuck y'all, we're gonna take it all for ourselves. The overlords are no longer united. And that was just part of setting up the V's to be the main villain of the show. So Adam was just like a side villain. No, with that said, like, I still like his songs, I still like his voice acting, the way he's animated is really funny, because it's just like a dude who's like relishes in his masculinity, but then like he literally is wearing a dress and surrounded by women all the time. He's literally got like his own exorcist harem. It's just very interesting things going on. There's a lot to unpack there, and this is just a tier list. I'm not here to unpack everything that has to do with Adam. I'm just going to throw him into great. If he had a better death, or we learn more about him, or like there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with this character, but not a lot of stuff that like I find interesting, that's why I haven't delved more into it. That's why I don't want to put him in like the top tier, because I could take him or leave him. As great as he is, he's not my cup of tea. So moving along to Lute. My favorite part about Lute is how she has this massive like hate boner for Vaggie, and just like has issues, so I feel like there could potentially be some future stuff to explore there in season 2 between her and Vaggie, because Vaggie was established as like a very high-ranking exorcist before she defected. Maybe she held Lute's position before Vaggie left and then Lute was promoted, or maybe they were jockeying for the same position, and then with Vaggie out of the picture, Lute just got it by default. Maybe they were girlfriends too, because it was established that Vaggie has been this way for a long time. Also, it's very interesting that in the Hazbin Hotel universe, being gay doesn't automatically damn you to hell. And there's a lot of people who have that interpretation of the Bible, but you don't hear about that from extremists. Just something I thought was interesting, bit of lore that I noticed off of their little hate boners they had going back and forth. And the most interesting part is Vaggie doesn't give a shit about Lute, and Lute makes this a huge part of her personality. There's definitely a lot to be unpacked there as far as the character goes, and I guess she's not like impactful or memorable or interesting enough to go into the great category, but she is better than Husk, in my opinion. I would prefer to see an episode dedicated to Lute than I would to Husk. I know, shocker. But yeah, I'm just going to put her into good category, because I just don't think she's good enough to go into great, but she's a little bit better than good. I would say like excellent with a period. And now we've got Velvette. I like her song, I like her voice, I like her outfit, I like how she's like the mom of Vox and Valentino. She's also very headstrong and just barges into the Overlord meeting and is like, fuck y'all, I am the new queen here. Just very arrogant. I would say she's arrogant, but it's almost in like a mesmerizing way, where it's like Valentino's arrogant, but like he's just an asshole. Velvette's definitely an asshole, but we can see her being very impactful as a character, even amongst the other V's. Like, they don't disrespect Velvette, but Valentino and Vox disrespect each other a lot, and Velvette seems to be like the mastermind. She's like, oh, here's a great idea. And they're all like, yes, let's go along with it. I feel like she's technically, like, they say behind every, like, great man, there's an even greater woman, and Vox is being, like, touted as the head of the V's. No, I think Velvette's kind of got that under control. I feel like in season 2, Vox might have, like, a mental breakdown, and then Velvette's gonna be the one to, like, slap him and snap him out of it and be like, well, here's what the plan is going to be moving forward. This is how we're going to take down Alastor. We've tried it your way, you dickhead. We're going to try it my way now. Something to that effect. I think she's set up to be a very interesting villain, but it's just set up. So there's nothing been like guaranteed. She didn't get a whole lot of screen time. I'm just going to put her into good because I have high hopes for her. She was set up extremely well, and I like what I've seen so far. There just hasn't been enough of her to talk about, really. And now we've got Rosie. So there's two things that I especially like about Rosie. One of them, they capture like this cute, friendly woman aesthetic and also like bloodthirsty demon, but they didn't have to compromise on either aspect to create it. And what I mean by that, like art of vampires, and they either look very scary or it's just sexy goth. There's no Like, you can't have both at the same time. You can't have sexy and also scary at the same time. But here we have a character that's more like cute mom who will literally rip your spine out of your throat. And it's just like, there's not a word to describe this character because their aesthetic and appearance and demeanor is so unique. I can't think of a single thing to compare it to. They're so great. I like them a lot. And not only that, you know how we talk about like how Lilith is kind of out of the picture? They don't really acknowledge Lilith in season 1, or at least the denizens of hell don't. Charlie is clearly like lacking a little bit of a mother figure, and then Rosie comes in and gets to be that role model and is like sickeningly sweet to Charlie and helps her out a lot and plays that like mentor motherly role. And we've seen the hero's journey before where there's almost always some sort of like gremlin or like creature that comes along. Like in my collab with Sarcastic Chorus for Adore, it was Raz was the mentor that made Adore feel comfortable in her own skin. In Star Wars, Yoda was the one who was like, hello Luke, this is how you use the Force, and now I'm gonna help you overcome your fear so you have the bravery to go confront your father. Rosie is that figure for Charlie, and I think it was pulled off pretty naturally, really smoothly, and it produced a lot of cute, tender moments that made me really like her character. And yeah, I think she's just amazing, and I would like to see more of her, but in that role of like the demon who will eat your face, and also Charlie's stepmom. Carmilla is not a very interesting character. Like, there's a lot of speculation that she is an angel, or all this stuff about her. But what do we know about her? We know that she's an overlord. She's been in power for quite a while. She has some daughters. She is the lead, like, weapons manufacturer. She's the Black Rock of Hell. That's kind of it. I like the voice actor. She has a very pretty singing voice, but I think the song that Carmilla was given was really bad and just like cringy and underproduced, so I'm not a fan of pretty much anything about her. My favorite part about her is she just looks like Camille from League of Legends with like the legs and the hair and the overall body, so I'm just gonna put her in forgettable because I forget that she exists, and she holds the only significance that she really has is giving Velvette somebody to scream at when she interrupts the meeting, giving Vaggie somebody to duet with like twice, and those duets were over Vaggie having issues that I think are non-issues. So yeah, I just don't think her interactions were that good, so I'm happy to put her in a forgettable tier. And now we move on to Valentino. I think this character just exists to give people PTSD flashbacks and to show people why Angel Dust is the way he is, which I don't want to say that's problematic in and of itself, but I'm definitely not happy about this character's existence for, obvious reasons. But if Valentino wasn't the way he was, to make Angel Dust the way he was, I wouldn't find Angel Dust to be nearly as relatable of a character as they did. So I see Valentino more like as an accessory to Angel Dust and not so interesting as a character himself. So I'm just gonna throw him into mid tier. The show also doesn't give a single inkling into how this literal child-brained psycho got into such a high position of power. Is he just as a demon? Was he just born with a special power that gave him an edge? Is he literally just lucky, and that's the only reason why he has any power at all? I would like to learn a little bit more about Valentino and how he rose to power, because I do not I can understand Carmilla rose to power. I can understand how Alastor rose to power, and Rosie, and Adam and Vox, but Valentino's the one who's just it doesn't make any sense. Velvette, it makes perfect sense. Husk, he gambled his way into power. That also makes perfect sense. But Valentino feels like an odd one out, and he just feels like an accessory to Angel Dust, and so I don't really like his character as it is. Moving on to Lucy himself. So I think the only thing that makes Lucifer interesting, we don't understand Charlie's daddy issues, and that just creates a layer of confusion and like, why? What is the problem with this dude? I don't know. I would like to know, and then we don't find that out. Hopefully that gets expanded more upon in season 2 as Alastor and Lucy fight over like Charlie's affection and appreciation. But for now, the most interesting parts about Lucifer are just his interactions with Alastor, but that just amplifies Alastor's character and does nothing for Lucy. So I'm actually not happy with him. I love his character design, I like his voice, I like his song, so I'm just going to put him in mid tier because forgettable, he's not forgettable. There's just enough interesting things about him to keep him at the forefront of everyone's mind. And now we get to Sarah and the Seraphim. I think they're just like uninspired clones of, well, Sarah's just an uninspired clone of Charlie with just like feathers and wings, very uninspired, boring angel design. Like literally everybody else's outfits are so like interesting and unique, but like what? But they didn't do that for the angels. Ugh, forgettable as hell. And not even just that, like just like the way they behave makes no sense. It's like, does heaven not have any laws at all? I mean, you would think that hell would be the one without laws, but by the way they all interacted in heaven in this show, heaven's the one that is the most unruly place. Like there's just no rules and people do whatever they want, and because they let Adam do whatever he wanted, and they let the Seraphim just kind of make whatever rules she wants to make. So it's just like, I don't understand what's going on here. I don't think the story handled them well. They didn't explain shit about them. It just made them look like bitches, and then adios. Like, okay, I'm not happy with that. Moving on to, okay, I guess now we get a lot of side characters. So I don't even know who some of these are. Anyway, we've literally covered the main cast. Oh, there's Cherry Bomb. I didn't like Cherry Bomb. Like I mentioned, she was just kind of mean. As an accessory to Sir Pentious, she made him more good. And I like her accent, but that's it. I'm gonna put her in forgettable. She would be forgettable if not for her having such a profound effect on Sir Pentious. But yeah, okay. I don't like that I'm ranking her mid because I think that's too high for her, but I'll move her up there. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would want her to be at the very least good, but I don't like her dialogue. Like how she's written to interact with the other characters feels very non-believable. Like it takes me out of the immersion of hell because everybody else is either just like blatantly shitty to each other and nobody likes each other, but everybody's like, oh my god, Cherry, you're my sweet little baby boo, it's fucking angel dust. But it's just like she's being mean and like literally peer pressuring you into doing drugs and doesn't show that they care about you. But then she sticks around for the final boss fight, and it's like, okay, that didn't make sense with the direction that the character was going. And she was also like, it was implying that she had some psychological stuff going on when they were in the club, and they didn't dive into that, and it was just kind of weird, kind of like inject her into the plot when they needed an excuse to test Angel Dust's resolve when it came to his redemption, because they were in a very high tension episode with Charlie and Vaggie going to heaven and needing an example to prove that their hotel works. Yeah, her character just kind of makes no sense. I don't like the way it was written. I don't like her dialogue. She was introduced way better into the pilot, but the introduction here, it was not it. And so I feel like mid is just fine for her. Anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And, if you like this video, then hit that like button. Oh my god, that was disgusting. That tasted bad. I'll see you in the next one.